Hello, and welcome to getting consistent, reliable, and fast results from Microsoft CoPilot and ChatGPT. I'm Jeffrey Davis, and the main thing we want to focus on today is how we're going to create prompts that deliver consistent results. One of the major issues we all find ourselves in is trying to use ChatGPT and wasting hours trying to get the right result, trying to get the thing working, but we're just not getting the consistency that we're looking for, and we are not able to rely on AI to do high quality, high value work that we need to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So I'm Jeffrey Davis. I'm essentially a business strategist who's done product strategy for McKinsey, digital transformation for IBM, and done business transformation at Majid Al Futtaim, a $9 billion organization. I've done AI adoption for Gen AI for billion-dollar companies. I'm the founder of Ascend AI, which is specializing in AI for consultancy, especially proposals and RFP responses. And I built a database of over 500 plus prompts for executives and consultants alike. Now, there are three types of prompts that I use, and we're going to talk about the first one today. But just to give you an overall, this is a series we'll talk about each three. One is the printer, which is I know exactly what I want and what I'm looking for, and I don't want AI to give me 10 different versions. I just want the same type of report, the same type of email, the same type of presentation every single time with different inputs that update it. The second way that we use AI is as a sparring partner. So when I need to go from A to B, but my journey isn't 100% clear. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I do know I have a thought process, and I do know I need AI to work for me, but I don't need it to just give me a result. I want it to work with me along the journey. And the last one is when I need AI to just be autonomous as an assistant. So I'm going to give you a task like go book me a movie theater tickets or go look up some stocks for me. I don't care how long it takes, just come back with the results when you're done, right? So let's move into the printer. And for this is really for single task. When you really are thinking about, I need this template to be delivered, and I need it to be delivered 1,000 different times over my day. One of the biggest things that I have to do is market research reports for different clients. So the structure of them is always the same, but the content is always different. So how do I create a prompt or structure for me to be able to always consistently get that with different inputs from my side in terms of my perspective, my insights, the research that I've done, anything I find important that I can then get this thing to do. Now, where people fail or where the issue kind of comes when it comes with using AI, especially when it comes to trying to get consistent and reliable results, the biggest issue is a lot of people focus on the question and not the answer. Now, what we really mean by that is when you're working with CoPilot or ChatGPT or Gemini, everyone's kind of saying, hey, I need you to do this research report. Can you do this research report? Can you look this up for me? Can you find me these type of people? Can you find me these use cases? Can you do this, all these things? Now, what we're doing is at that point, you're using an AI as if it's still just Google. You've got a question and you're looking for an answer. But the reality is you probably already have a way that you expect that answer to come back to you. And AI doesn't have any of the context, the information, the structure, or the formatting that you have in your head from your 15 to 20 years of experience. So in order to flip that script, you need to think about how do you give the AI that structure, experience, context first, so the way you'd like your answer to be presented. So then when you ask that question, it's able to give it to you in the same format every single time. Now, I call this the kind of printer effect because it's printing me the template with new information, new insights that I'm looking for based on relevance, time, context, client, whatever that might be for me, right? But the printer means that I have a prompt that's going to print me the same looking format every single time with about 99% accuracy. So I'm not going to get 10 different versions. It's not going to look any different. It's going to make sure it's researching the same level of depth. It's going to make sure it's looking into all the things that I need to the right level, the same quality. It's going to use the same thought process. All these things can be done repeatedly over and over again. In order to get consistent, reliable, and fast results with AI, there are four things that you really need. One is you need to find your golden example. So what is the example that you have that really matches and says, look, this is a perfect version of what I'm looking for to get recreated? Then you need to think about what are the inputs that went into that in order to kind of fill all those different holes if you need to turn it into a skeleton template that anybody could use. So same when you're doing like a proposal and you've got a skeleton proposal template that you use, or if you got a research brief, or if you got a client brief that you guys use, any of these things can be turned into prompt templates that you can get AI to fill in for you. Then you build a prompt to recreate it, right? And that becomes your printer that always is able to update things. And you can think about this even for social media content, your own newsletters, anything like that that you have to produce consistently, but in reality has the same format or structure that you end up using every single time, right? So let's use an example of a golden sample, right? So this is another masterclass workshop that I did, the very first one when we started the series, around building winning strategy decks and the process for that, right? So I've got all those slides in there. That's essentially a PDF, and I'll take this as the example that I'll use later, and I can go ahead and look through that and then turn that into a template, right? So this is the best case scenario. I'm very happy with the structure, the format, the way it is. Let's see if we can recreate it. And you can do that same thing for presentations, market reports, emails, spreadsheets, legal contracts, anything that's a template that only has a couple different things going to change, you're going to be able to use. Then all you have to do is identify these key inputs. So if I was doing a script, I might need to have the whole script written for a sales pitch. Then I might have these little inputs that say, cool, what's the switching trigger, the old way, the new way that we're doing things, what are the reasons why this sale doesn't work, or why that old product doesn't work, why our product will work, what's our goal together. All these things can be identified, pooled, and then added in here, right? Then you end up with a skeleton template, right? That thing that you can use over and over again that's going to have all of these kind of inputs ready for the AI to fill in. And you can, in your prompt, you can kind of decide whether you want it to be really strict or whether you want it to be more flexible. That's kind of up to you. But the idea is that in that template, you want to think about, just as if you were to give this to a junior or someone new or someone who's onboarding onto your company, what are the instructions, the sections, the inputs, the context that's able to do this. Now, you could write this all manually. If I'm really honest with you, I've already built prompts so that I don't have to build any of this manually anymore. I literally take the template, the prompt reads it, and then it sends it off, and I'll show you what that looks like. Then you have the actual prompt that then helps you print the results. This is a short snippet of that, but you can see here that I've got the required inputs, I've got my objective for my LOM, I have my core instructions. The one thing that's missing from here in terms of visuals is the output template and what that looks like, but I'll show you what that looks like in just a little bit. Now, let's try this all together and see what we can do to try to kind of build this out. And I'll use ChatGPT, but the same thing can be done in CoPilot easily. Build me a proposal presentation. So now it's going to ask me all these questions. I have to kind of go through this and answer them. I could go through the whole thing, but let's just say, give me a template, right? Which is fine. So it's going to go through and it's going to give me a little bit of structure, but it's just doing this based on whatever I can kind of find or whatever the gist of the information has. But it's missing all of the important information and context that I have in my head that I've already got somewhere. So let's look into now building that out based on a much better framework. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this executive training deck that we have here that we use to essentially sell our executive training to C-suites and in terms of what they want to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, take this pitch in terms of everything that we're delivering. And what I want you to do is take this and then turn it into a template. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take that. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this over here, paste this in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this prompt from my prompt library. And what this prompt does is this one will essentially hacks the AI to essentially read through my golden sample, understand who the target audience is, everything like that. And then I want you to recreate that into a template that I can use and then structure it as an output that's going to be useful to me. So we're going to copy that. I've already pasted in my actual proposal, and now I'm just going to say, go. Okay, now what we can see here is I now have a system prompt that I can use for any of my executive AI training. So anytime there's a new client that comes to me, and let's say I have a meeting with them, we record the call, I have the transcript, I can put it into here, and it's gonna then customize that proposal exactly to the client in all their specifications and anything they need based on my template. So let's go through how this works a little bit. So this prompt is then essentially look at the source material, synthesize the information, then use the proposal writing system that we built to essentially create that strategy. So it's going to ingest all the information, it's going to extract all the facts, signals, metrics, risk, examples, anything that's required, infer any missing information, write a fully completed executive proposal, structure the proposal exactly as we defined in our kind of phases 1 through 12 in the original template, and deliver a client-ready document. Not a template, no placeholders, no instructions. So it should give me everything I need. And if we looked at this in more detail, you can see the more detailed instructions that it has to do in terms of how it's going to take in that information, how it's going to build the narrative, how it's going to write that proposal, and the steps it has within that in terms of framing the landscape, diagnosing what's broken, why the old way doesn't work, the core question we're asking, all the kind of steps that I have within my proposal. And then it'll finally get me my end deliverable. So everything will work exactly as I need, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that prompt and I'm gonna start a new chat, so we're clean. I'm gonna paste that in here, and then we're just gonna take a dummy conversation that I have, right? So we're gonna take that conversation from me hiring a social media assistant and go transcript, extracts, inputs, right? And then we're just gonna hit go. Now, from in here, you'll be able to see that we have our prompt at the top, which is creating our proposal. And then we have our source material here at the bottom, which is looking through all the information. And now, based on those two pieces of context from the template that we built and the conversation that I had, so the context that we put in, it's now building a customized proposal with all of my content, context, and my expertise to then deliver that exactly as I'd like. So now when I need to actually pre-fill my template of my presentation, I can now take this information and copy and paste it in. And I could run this 3 or 4 more different times and it would give me the exact same output. So that's what we're looking for when it comes to really structuring that information and creating a printer prompt. That's going to give me the same results every single time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for learning with me. And I look forward to showing you the next one where we're getting to sparring partners, using AI to actually go back and forth to get from A to Z in a really nice fashion. Talk to you soon.